we are going to discuss about people with disabilities, especially in line with what is going on now, the COVID-19 pandemic. It is good enough that they have some disabilities and challenges due to disabilities, but with what is happening now with the pandemic, one, most people with disabilities have underlying ailments, so they are more vulnerable to get contracted with the COVID-19 virus. Number two, the containment and control measures of COVID-19 have some impacts that are socioeconomic in dimensions. So you begin to wonder if the people who do not have any form of disabilities are going through a lot of inconvenience because of lockdowns and other stuff, how much more people with disabilities. So today we are going to look at strategies for minimizing the impact of COVID-19 on people with disabilities. With us here in the studio, we have two very wonderful people. They are wonderful because they have been working with people with disabilities. We have Dr. Igwebuike Nwaesei, who is the CEO of Hope International, Hope for Now International, I'm sorry, based in New York. He is working extensively with people with disabilities in Nigeria. He's going to speak to us about strategies. And back home here in Abuja, Nigeria, we have our very own Jake Epelle. Jake is the founder of Albino Foundation. Jake has a first-class experience of people living with disabilities. So without wasting much time, we are going to hear from Jake. Jake is going to speak for a couple of minutes. After then, we are going to hear from Dr. Igwebuike Michael, and then we are going to take a whole lot of questions to see how we can develop strategies to support people with disabilities now that there are extra challenges as a result of COVID-19. Jake,
thank you, Dr. Paul. I'm delighted and honored to be here and to identify with Pristine. It's a wonderful initiative that you have, and I'm glad that you're thinking out of the box to deliver solution in the midst of crisis. I want to salute my co-speaker, Dr. Please, I don't want to murder the pronunciation of your name, Doc.
Igwebuike.
Igwebuike. All right, now I got it.
Igwebuike, yes.
Yeah, thank you. You are in the front line. I understand you're in New York, so you're in the front line. And I salute your courage and thank you for being part of this. And hopefully we'll begin a very good relationship with your foundation and what we're doing here in Nigeria. With that said, I'm just going to, I can share this document with you, Dr. Paul, after this, but because of time, I'm not going to go into details. I will just run through it. And secondly, because of my sight, I cannot read things. That's why I like extempo presentation. But however, this morning, I got a link of the Secretary General of United Nations statement on COVID-19 as it relates to persons with disability. And he made it very clear that the persons with disability generally will be worst affected either during this COVID-19 or post-COVID-19, knowing fully well that they already have issues that they are battling with. And COVID-19 have become a complication to that issue. But I like to always remind my audience, every time I have the opportunity to speak, that we can all make a living with what we get. We can only make life what we live. With that said, let me begin by looking at the challenges that we face and that are facing persons with disability, and these challenges will also continue to face them post-COVID-19. Number one is attitudinal challenges, attitude of the people, aptitude of the people that they meet from day to day. It's very easy to begin to look at persons with disability as carriers of this infection, even when they are not carrying it, because already they have a problem, you know? And so it's important for organizations like all of us here to begin to look at how you can become a self-advocate for persons with disability, getting the society to understand, you know, their challenges, and getting the community of persons with disability to also understand the societal impression of them, and for them not to live with that impression, but to change it. You can imagine what would have happened if I had allowed myself to be saddled with the impressions that people have about persons with albinism. You know, I refuse to accept it, and all my colleagues and team have come to that level of knowledge that we must not accept and allow ourselves to be boxed up by the society. We have to fight for ourselves, not flight from societal impressions. Well, a second thing is in infrastructural. Already in some of the, by the way, I have become an advocate of that speaks against the task force, you know, calling the treatment centers, as isolation centers. That in itself creates stigma. Because when you move people to a place where they should be treated, and you begin to codename that place as isolation, that itself sends a signal to the society that these people have been isolated, something is wrong with them, they have become endangered species to the society. And I refuse to accept that. You know, and a few days ago, I had the privilege of speaking against that we should change that nomenclature to read treatment center. So in those treatment centers, they don't have, at those treatment centers, they don't have infrastructural, their infrastructural barrier. If a person with disability comes there, they will not have the ramp, the devices, the things for them to live their normal life and be treated by the doctors. The doctors are also not trained to handle persons with disability, even in the treatment centers. So you see, there's a myriad of problems that we have to deal with in looking at that. Institutional and communication barrier. Up till this moment, as we speak, the task force have refused to produce, either they refuse or ignorantly, or they feign ignorant that there is no braille. So a segment, about 10 million segment of the visually impaired group in Nigeria don't know what they are talking about because they can't see it. Yes, they can hear, but you know the power of visual. Then there's another segment of people, the hard in hearing, that they are not able to hear what is being said. There are very few sign language experts. Even as of today, virtually all the news media don't have sign language. So you cut out that segment of people from assimilating the information that is all over the place, you know. So communication barrier will also continue because now they don't know what is going on. They don't have any information. After COVID-19, that same problem will continue to be, So I looked at these 4 critical areas as an impediment to a normal life post COVID-19. Now, how do we get around that? I suggest increased access to economic programs such as the Empower, market money with low or no interest rate to support small businesses. These people with disability have to be encouraged. They have to be encouraged to become entrepreneurs. There has to be a way to, because today we are talking about coronavirus. Tomorrow is going to be hunger virus. It's going to be economic virus, So if we prepare the community to become self-sustaining, if we prepare the community to be able to fend for themselves, we've been going around distributing palliative. You need to know and see how hungry people are, that even with the retinue of police and security that we go, they overwhelm them and literally run them out of the scene. We had to change strategy. Instead of taking the food to the people, we started doing institutional and locational drop-off. And the challenges of that is that you don't know whether it will get to the people who needs it. Access to medical and health facilities. Many persons with disability who will be in need of medical care should be able to access such with little or no cost. The government has to come out with a clear-cut policy of absolute free medical attention to persons with disability, knowing fully well that many of them have been locked down and many of them are not getting the necessary medical attention that they have been getting pre-COVID-19. Now, many of them will be down with all kinds of ailments that have not been receiving medical attention. Can the government declare a free, absolute free medical attention to them? In the course of this, I've lost 4 members of my community from skin cancer because there were no doctors to treat them. Not COVID-19, not the virus, but skin cancer. And these were pre-medical conditions that they were in before this. And in the midst of this, there were nobody to treat them. And so they are gone. 2 of them are still in the mortuary. We're just waiting for this period so that we can bury them. Increased rehabilitation program. Let me just run through because of my time. Inclusive education is also an important element. Now, they are doing, currently in Nigeria, they are running school on air, school on radio, school on TV. All they do is send out visual signal and audio signal. The other sign language aspect is cut out completely. How can persons with disability, so in this few period that others are trying to catch up with their curriculum and their educational, and all the educational resources, we are cut out. We are completely cut off. So for this period, they will remain in ignorance, not being able to catch up with their peers until after this whole pandemic. All right. Establishment of Disability Commission, which is a major problem in Nigeria. I have been battling with the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Women Affairs, asking for this commission. If this commission was in place, like it is in places like America, in places like England, England is a role model, Their charity commission takes care of persons with disability. If we had this commission would have been better prepared to handle the challenges of persons with disability and their entire community. Sensitization of the disability community is also a very important key factor, even post-COVID-19. The community has to be sensitized. Many of them are ignorant of what is happening. Many of them will remain ignorant of what will happen to them. Building synergy with CSO. I mean, Dr. Paul, this is a great initiative, you know, but we need to widen it, broaden the strategy, broaden the horizon, broaden the audience, so that people will know. You never know the extent by which information like this can go and what it can do. I want to...
We're going to round up,
yes.
Jake. Yes.
Yes, so, well, just on the first one that I touched on, we need to deal with communication barrier. We need to deal with attitudinal barrier. We need to do with exclusion from decision-making. We need to do with communication issues and economic hardship. I stop here and remind us that the very day we were born, we all cried. The day we were born, we cried. Everybody around us rejoiced. The day Paul was born, everybody around Paul was rejoicing. You were the only one crying. See, when we live our lives so well, the day we die, we will be rejoicing instead of crying. Everybody around us will be crying. And people cry when you die because they are not sure what the person living will be able to do that you have done. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jake. I'm sorry we had to cut you short. I know you can speak for hours on ending, but we got so many beautiful lines here that we can develop into the strategy. The most important that I see here is the establishment of Commission for Persons with Disability. Jake, I'm with you to see how far we can push this to make sure that this gets done in our country, Nigeria. I assure you, I'll work side by side with you to make sure that we get this done. Something else you said that is quite touching is that everyone needs to be a self-advocate for people with disabilities. Well, Dr. Igwebuike Nwaesei introduced me into it, and I became an advocate where before I met you, Jake, and then you reinforced it, and everyone that surrounds me, I get them involved to know that we have to be self-advocates for people with disabilities. Then finally, I got something very interesting where you talked about treatment centers and not isolation centers.
That's right.
Because when we are locked down, we are in isolation. So why should we now name treatment centers isolation centers? That word isolation center even connotes a kind of fear. You know, the people that I heard about people running away, they don't want to go to isolation centers. Moreover, you said that we need to create self-sustaining communities. We also need to see that we follow through with that direction. We are going to hear from Dr. Igwebuike Nwaesei shortly. And Jake, thank you so much. We're going to take questions and answers once Dr. Igwebuike is done. But before then, we'll play a short video for you. It's just 30 seconds, so please stay online.
to help those that are living with disabilities, the underprivileged in the society. We came at the wake of the hunger that came as a result of the lockdown occasioned by the pandemic that is ravaging the world today, the COVID-19, of course. We are feeling the pulse of the people. Hunger is in the land. If normal people can have difficulties in feeding themselves in this time, how much more those that are living with disabilities? These are our thoughts and our passion that brought us to the streets today. Like you can see, we have
This is a short video. We'll give you the YouTube link to see the full video for Now International. We welcome the CEO of Hope for Now International, Dr. Igwebuike, Michael Nwaesei. Michael, let's hear from you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Abolo, Ecologistics and Pristine in collaboration, and also my partner here, Brother Epelle. I really, I'm very honored to be here. Anytime I talk about people with disabilities, it's usually a somber moment for me because a lot of people don't really understand where I'm coming from. They don't understand the passion that is required to go for the needy. They really don't understand it. So I understand everyone's level is different. They don't understand why is it that the population of people with disabilities, most of them don't really get over the age of 50. They don't make it to the age of 50. A majority of them, if you take the statistics. Our mission as Hope for Now is actually to build hope centers worldwide, starting from Africa, Nigeria, respectively, whereby we bring wellness and access to employment for people with disabilities. How did we come about this? I think it's my parents, as you know, were also into it. I've gotten into it, and I thank God for it. Our drive is simply one thing, is that we are all created in God's image. All of us, based on love. And as you know, the mind is a standard of the man. That's why we believe that if anyone is able to think that we are created in God's image, in which the human life is worthy of honor and respect, dignity and sacred. You know, the value of dignity that is being conferred on every human being is an equalizer that makes all of us the same thing. That's why love is a redemptive power. Because like you know very much, the lion acts the way he thinks. Yeah, because it's our mind that determines our growth. Hope for Now took this out of our UN Sustainable Development Goals, in which they said that empowering persons with disabilities is to ensure inclusiveness and equality, and also makes it that everyone is safe. But there is a problem here because we can't give what you don't have. And I listened to my co-speaker talk about the problem and issues. But I want to bring everyone back to the fundamental problem that we have when we are calling for things. And that's what Hope for Now wants to go beyond. We want to go beyond the charity model. Hope for Now is tired of the charity model, whereby you look at people with disabilities, all you do with them, all you do for them is to give them arms. We want that to stop. That's not why we're in existence. We're giving them, we're doing for them because we want them to live quality life. Just like you and me. I want that model to stop. Welfare and charity. That's the only thing that we know in our government. How do you help them? How do you give a standout? You know, I read a study in the United Kingdom in 2008 that talked about the way the Nigerian government thinks about people with disabilities. It's all about welfare and charity. This is as opposed to the idea of social adaptation and inclusion and empowerment of people who have disabilities, how they can live a quality life. I'm going to be bold enough to say something that I always look at in my quiet moment. And I say to myself, this current societal practice really amounts to slavery. Bold enough to go in that area is slavery. Practicing slavery is man's inhumanity to man, human degradation. Anything you do for them is like you're doing them a favor. We don't look at it from the image of God, Allah, Jesus, whatever it is that we're practicing. If you look at the fellow human being from that perspective, you will treat them fairly. I've observed people giving alms to the poor. They throw the money to the ground instead of giving it to them, handing it over to them. All these things that we're doing, people with disabilities have serious pain and suffering. I don't want to go down the line of historical perspectives whereby our culture, our religious backing have done a lot of things that have really harmed them a lot, where they are shunned, put away, hidden, invisible. That's really the key here. But the modernization has made it in such a way that there has been some intervention. That's why I'm grateful that the government, every government in the world is coming in and trying to pick it up on that. But it's deep-rooted in our culture, and that's the issue that we're having. The psychological challenge that people with disabilities are facing, the trauma, the anxiety, the normal life they can't get to, all of them are facing the same problem. It doesn't matter what kinds of disability that, you know, we all go through. I listened to Dr. Abolo talk about how he fell down and suddenly things that he could do before, he could no longer do them. You know, when I do my orientations here in the United States, the first thing I start off by telling everyone is that everyone on the face of this earth has a disability. And that kind of shocks them. And after, I want you to search yourself. You have a disability right there. It may not be showing, or it may not have showed. It's going to come up soon. Everyone has it. You and me, everybody. So if you think that you look at somebody with disability, then that's your own issue. COVID-19 pulled the rugs over us. COVID-19 brought everything to the forefront. It leveled the playing field. COVID-19 made everything, everybody realization, and that's why I'm so honored to be here. Thank you, Dr. Abolo, for calling attention, because otherwise, this very population is still dying and suffering in silence, in which they are afraid. Think of what the able population is going through now, and then also have a look at what Dr. Abolo just said in terms of what he could not do and what people with disabilities are going through. It is unimaginable. The lives of people with disabilities are not being prioritized. They are not being considered in a disaster or pandemic planning. And why do I say that? Because I'm a man who does fact checks, or check my facts. I make sure, because whatever I say, I know people are going to be checking it. when I observed what was happening in Nigeria with the lockdown and everything, I really did not see any attention being paid either by the government or by the ministry that is in charge in saying, mentioning them, mentioning people with disabilities, mention them. These are human, we are all human beings. And that's why when I step back in my quiet moment, I have come to the realization that, you know what, whatever we do is always to the glory of God, because I see them as the same thing. Now, let's go into the mitigation strategies. And I saw Mr. Epelle said something about making sure that wherever they are is not a center that holds them. Otherwise, it becomes a segregation or institutionalization center, you know, in which nobody wants to be institutionalized. And again, they think that they're doing them a favor. According to the Center for Disease Control, again, these are statistics, they say that people with disabilities right now are more likely to die, to have heart disease, stroke, diabetes, cancer, and all of you can read up on that. The COVID-19 has elevated the conversation, and we should continue to focus on the disparities and address disability inequities. Now, let me go straight to this one for 2 minutes. In terms of poverty in Nigeria, poverty has really, because the last, thank you, Dr. Abolo, for playing that video. If you had watched that video to the end, a fight almost broke out, because while we were giving to people with disabilities, some group of youths came and they wanted to have their own share. And of course, our MD in Nigeria said, no, this is for people with disabilities. And they turned around and said to him, we are also disabled. Poverty is a serious disability as well. And a fight almost broke out, and they were able to manage and escape from that place before they held their car hostage. So I said to him, you know what, they are right. They have a disability as well, because if you don't know what it takes, but why should there be poverty? Poverty is everywhere. But what we're suffering in Nigeria is the value we have placed in Nigeria, whereby the priorities is a problem. You know, extreme materialism, whatever you have, you want more. You know, sometimes, which means we foolishly maximize the minimum and we minimum the maximum. That's exactly what we're doing. So when we look at it, you look at the level of classes in Nigeria. I'm not going to go down the list of classes in which of course, the classes starts from the disabled people, in which they are the lowest. And you go to the...
You have 90 seconds around that.
Thank you very much. Yes, I know that. So I can go on and on. You know how it is. So when we go through all the classes, we see that the solution to all these things is workshop. Societal orientation is very important. Extremely very important. In Nigeria, people run from cars instead of cars, because we don't pay attention to humanity. A car is coming and expects you to get out of the way. Otherwise, they're going to run you down. That's the community orientation. We have that in our mind. Another thing that I will encourage at this time is, let the government practice what they preach. They go about everywhere signing this thing. I read the 2007, 2008, they signed, we'll have to hold this, the humanity, freedom of healthcare, everything. They sign all these documents. I don't know if they read it. All we need is implementation. Make sure that there is free healthcare. And I will tell you something about that. In 2015 Olympics team for people with disabilities, 10 of the people with disabilities, that's the basketball team, went for the Olympics. What did they do? The World Games held the athlete screening. Just say, let us screen these people who are deaf. Guess what? 7 out of them only needed hearing aid, and they gave them hearing aid. Right at the Games Olympics, they were able to hear for the first time in their life. All they need, at the Games Olympics, all they needed was hearing aid. So what I'm saying is the things that are in place, I'm not blaming the present government, but there is need to do more, because no government has, even this government that is even touching it and setting up whatever they are doing, they've done more than all the other governments. But more needs to be done, because the aspect and issue of people with disabilities is a subject that will continue to go on. But I want everyone to get into the advocacy and action process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nwaesei. I know that there's still so much from where that came from.
Yeah.
And this is just the first of the series. We are going to have several series after this where we can explore in details what you, Dr. Nwaesei and Epelle, has for us with people with disabilities. This is not just a one-shot deal. We are going to continue this until we see that we have made appreciable progress with advocating for people with disabilities. Dr. Nwaesei, you said something that is quite interesting. I never heard it before. You said the lion acts the way he thinks. I like that. We are going to expand on that later, but going beyond that, you said that we need to go beyond the charity model. I had an experience with the IDPs in Benin 2 years ago when we visited the IDP camps. I remember the first time we did that in 2015. Dr. Nwaesei, you came from the US and we took the trip together.
Yes.
And I realized that learning how to give is another thing. People need to know how to give. There's a way you give to people, you are actually insulting them.
Absolutely.
You are actually, yes, making them feel bad towards you because of the way you give. So as part of our societal orientation, which you have recommended, we need to teach our young people, our children, we need to teach them in school, we need to teach them at home how to give.
Yeah.
People need to know how to give. It's inscribed in the Bible, it's inscribed in the Quran. People need to know how to give. But in our society, people don't know how to give. And people don't know that receiving empowers you to give.
Yeah.
So if you have received, you are actually empowered to give. That brings me to something Dr. Nwaesei you shared with me one time ago. I don't know if you remember, and you said it's cultural disability, which means that in our culture, we have a disability itself. Our culture has a disability in the way we deal with people with disabilities. Then when you said that poverty is a serious disability, wow. I never even looked at it that way, but really poverty is a disability because you might mean to do well, but because one is poor, one does not have the means, they can do well. So one of the things we need to do in dealing with people with disabilities is to ensure that we lift them out of poverty so that they will deal with that original disability, because it's the first disability that made them poor. So if you are able to deal with that poverty element, you have lifted them beyond the secondary disability. So we have a few questions here. We're going to take a few questions. And let's see what the questions look like, and then we'll answer the questions, and then each of you will have 3 minutes to round up. Let's take the first question. This is anonymous from, it says, people with disabilities require more than arms. They require love and inclusion. How do we make this happen in Nigeria? Who is going to take a shot at that question? Dr. Nwaesei, I'll give you that question. Jeff, you can also take that question. Huh?
Yeah, I will chime in on that right away. You see that that's really the way I started talking. That's the mantra of Hope for Now, and the Hope Center that we want to build in Nigeria. The Hope Center, when you step into a Hope Center, it's like your problem is solved, your quality life begins. Anybody that has a disability on the face of this earth, that's the model we're going to build in Nigeria. And that's the first model. When you step into that Hope Center, your problem is solved, your quality life begins. And everything is eternal, is in the mind. The person asks, how do we make it happen? No, you don't make it happen. Like Dr. Abolo just said, it's a product of, they feel it. It's an internal feeling that we have. In psychology, you know everything is internal. People are watching you. People are seeing what you're doing to them. In my organization, we don't ask people for money that we're going to do this for people with disabilities. We tell you what we're doing. If it touches you to give, you give. Spirit of giving is a gift. It's a gratitude. We don't ask you, we're not going about asking people for money. I talk to people and they say, you know what, I like what you said. We're going to give you this. And I say, thank you, that's it. I don't solicit for funds because the funds are there. There are people who are willing to give for the cause that they know you believe in. Because there is only one thing that guides us, Dr. Abolo, the image of God. That's what I'm concerned about. Anything we're going to take away from here in this discussion moving forward is that we are all created in God's image. And that's all. So whatever you do it, however you're seeing anybody, your fellow human being, people with disabilities, look at them that these are my God's image. You're not looking at the person, you're looking at God. And that's the most important thing. You're looking at Allah himself, you're looking at whatever it is that you feel is omnipotent. It's okay, giving for this cause is the right thing to do. And like you rightly said, in 2008 or whatever, I don't know when it is, that you and I went to the Benin area where they kept those
2015, yes.
15. When we went to those places, we spent that night there. You know, when I looked at them, look at the love we showed them, Dr. Abolo. Look at the love. It's not the money we gave, it's not what we did, it's the togetherness, how we held them, how we made them feel that they are part of us. I never give somebody money, even when I'm giving alms, I give it to you, I make sure that I touch you or whatever is this, I put it on that plate and I make you feel human, I make you feel whole. Because this life we're spending, God gave me life today. I don't know about tomorrow. I have no idea about tomorrow. But if I'm living it today and I meet somebody that needs my assistance, I pay attention and I make that person feel that, you know what, even if it's today, you are living a quality life. That's why the Hope Center is all about that. Whatever we're building, when it's completed, you walk in there, your life is complete. So in answering that person's question, that's all we need. It's an internal thing in our head that we need to begin to consider that whatever we do with people with disability is a mindset that everyone, you know, because whatever we're doing as the able population is a temporary life because we all have that disability. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nwaesei. Taking me back to our visit to the camp in Benin, I remember an incident. I don't know if you remember when we got into the Indomie kitchen. They had a kitchen where they call the Indomie kitchen.
Yes,
Where the young ones had to make Indomie. And this little young boy came to me and said, "Daddy, eat my Indomie."
I remember that.
And I looked at the Indomie mixed with oil. I looked at the plate. I looked at the boy. I looked at the spoon. I said, "This is the best meal I will take." And I took a spoon of that Indomie and I ate it. And I saw the brightness in the young man's eyes. I've never seen such joy in his eyes, and all of them around. It felt so good. That was one of the best moments of my life.
I remember that, yeah.
We didn't give him money, but he wanted us to eat from his plate, from his spoon. And what struck me was that even in his state, he was willing to share. Even in his state, he was willing to share. He wanted me to eat out of his little Indomie that was there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's take the next question before we get too emotional about this. What's the next question? This question comes from Ilolo Gift. Ilolo Gift has a question. He said, "Little has been done with people with disabilities with the guidance and support needed to protect them during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Even though many of them are part of the high-risk group, they feel they have been left behind because containment measures such as social distancing," okay, let me change that, "such as physical distancing and self-isolation may be impossible for those who rely on the support of others to eat, dress, and bathe. What is the best way to address their predicament?" Jake Epelle, please, can you take this question?
Well, I was listening to my brother with keen interest, and there was an aspect of that question that I would zero in, and then I'll quickly answer this. It's the last part of it, which is inclusion. We live in an inclusive world created by God. Jesus, in most of his teaching, addressed the issue of exclusion. He called for inclusion. His disciples were with him and they were trying to safeguard him and everything, and children were running to him, and they didn't want those children to come to him. And he rebuked the disciples, says, "Let the children come to me." That's inclusion. He called for a party. And when he called for a party and the able people that he invited didn't show up, what did he say? He sent his disciples and asked the disciples, says, "Go into the street, go to the highways, go to the byways, bring in the lame, bring in the blind." You know, in terms of a very important aspect of Christianity is our salvation. Salvation would have been an exclusive right of the Jewish nation. But he broke that barrier and said, "Let the Gentiles come in." As a matter of fact, he reversed it, embraced the Gentiles, you know, and says there is neither Jew nor the Greek, nor the Gentiles. So God is an inclusive God. God is an inclusive God. And so inclusivity is the game changer, where we create an inclusive society where organizations like Hope for Now, Albino Foundation, Pristine, and every other organization that we have come together in a strategic synergy that puts pressure on every aspect of the society. Don't forget, there are issues with churches. I have been to a church where I came in and I wanted to sit down. You know, in fact, I was seated and somebody came, and that person, just because I have albinism, refused to sit near me. The ushers were trying to tell him to sit where she refused. And so you will find this discrimination and stigmatization in church, in mosque, in the marketplace, in shopping center, in every strata of the society. So we must drive inclusivity at the spiritual level, political level, social level, economic level, relational level, at every strata of the society. Once everybody accepts everybody, then we will have an open society that will fend for everyone that is part and parcel of that society. In answer to the young woman who sent the question, what can we do?
Young man.
If the task force had listened to us from the beginning, because as soon as I picked up the issue of our community will suffer the most, and we immediately put out went to African Union, that went to Nigeria. Lai Mohammed, the current Minister for Information, took it from me to the task force. And all I was asking is, from this day one, include us so that you will know what our issues are. Here's the answer. They came back to me and said, well, you know, the president has already appointed the task force. We can't add to it. And I told them, I said, create subcommittees. The mandate of the task force allows you to bring in any available resources that will make your work easy and make you deliver on your mandate. So create subcommittee. Do you know, as we speak, they've created subcommittee, not one person with disability is in it. So how can you understand my problem if you don't understand me? How can you mitigate for me when you don't know what I need? And that's the problem of government of many African nations. We sit in an air-conditioned room, write policies that we don't know the people whom we are going to implement those policies for. You know, and so we need to take practical steps, measurable steps in little quantities so that we can deliver to the people who needs our intervention. In simple terms, let the government include us in whatever they are doing. Let the bright and the best amongst us get involved, compete favorably with any other person. I really don't like anybody giving me something because I have albinism. That's an insult to my creator. Give me the same opportunity everybody has. Yes. I will compete favorably and get that thing, and I guarantee you I'll do it well. We're working with the EU. We didn't go to the EU and say to them, we have albinism, help us. We competed with 99 organizations and we came out first. And I think if we begin to explore meritocracy, you know, by that definition, I mean getting something based on merit, it will help our society. We may be disabled, but our minds are not disabled.
Thank you very much, Jake. You know, this what you're saying just took me back to something that happened in Lagos many years ago when I embraced your movement, and you told me that I have to hire one person with albinism. You remember? But yes. Jake said to me, interview him. Let him go through the process. And if you find that he will add value to your organization, employ him. And the young man came, I can't remember his name now. He went through the interview process, and very intelligent young man. He came up with ideas on how we could change the supply chain business that we were doing at that time. I was the CEO of the supply chain business. And we hired him. And he did so well that I had to make him my personal assistant, because each time we sat down to discuss, he always came up with very wonderful ideas on how we were going to improve our services to the people. Ordinarily, he would have said, find something for the young man, or him without having him go through the interview process. I wouldn't have known what value he had that he was going to bring to the table for the organization. So even as we are pushing forward, we want to do things, we must not forget the word inclusion. We'll take one more question as we begin to round up. Just a moment. All right. This question is for Dr. Igwebuike. It says, please, Dr. Igwebuike, I have it here on the screen. How can we reach people with disabilities? What structures exist to do this? Again, let me take the question. Please, Dr. Igwebuike, how can we reach people with disabilities? What structures exist to do this?
Right away, I think that what the person meant is how to really get into the groove of people with disabilities. People with disabilities are all around you. They're all around us. You look around, you will find them. There's always one less privileged person around you. And that's the most important thing. It's good for you to pay attention to it. You know, that's why this COVID-19, like I said earlier on, brought a lot of things to the playing field and made it level. But I began to look into, because in the United States here, quality of life for people with disabilities is really something we take very seriously, in which every access we give to them here is free, both through rehabilitation and into training, whatever they want to do as their career because of their disability, because they are not the same like us. So it's important that we need to protect them. That's why the government needs to come and take the position. But as you can see, the focus of my talk today, and I'm happy that Dr. Abolo said that this might be one in a series, because he has gotten that we can't get to the bottom of everything today. I decided to pay attention to our psychology. Our psychologization is very, very important. The man who is sitting at the desk at the ministry, how is he thinking? What is he thinking about? That's the most important thing. It's not what we're doing, advocating and advocating. You finish when they throw the file away. How is the person thinking? The person you are advocating for, do you really respect that person? Do you love that person that is created in God's image? That's what we have to take. That's why you see that in the population of people with disabilities, they have the highest rate of substance abuse. And I don't even know if Nigeria has a way of tracking that. And that's why they have very short lifespan. Many of them go into substance abuse. They just want to go away, die, and that's it. And they call it a day because of the marginalization. So I would say to you, start from your own family. How do you see people do it? Start from your family. There's somebody, there's one person there. That Range Rover you want to buy for millions of dollars. Look at somebody who has a disability in your family. What can I do? Because that's where the value system comes in. There's so many things I want to do here in my home. But I always talk to my children, we laugh about it. Even yesterday, my children were saying that they were going to surprise me one day. I said, what is it? They said, I will get to the airport and I will find out that my ticket is first class. And I said so I began to dramatize to them, because I'm a filmmaker, what I would do if I find out that I'm in first class. I always say to them that I can't see myself flying first class because I look at the money. So my son was telling me yesterday that you will actually get to the airport. I'm not going to tell you it's first class, but it's going to be first class because you do so much for people with disability. And I said, you know what? I don't want to get into first class, and I believe that I'm in economy. You waste that money. It's my thought process. That's the way I think. I'm every day I wake up, I sleep, I wake up. I'm always looking around me. Who has a disability? So to answer your question, the person is around you. Don't look too far. What can you do is around. We can go too far and look into this thing, but that's why I said in one of my solutions, I talk to the Africans in diaspora, because global sensitization is very, very important. Look to the people in Nigeria, because in this pandemic, the government has shown, again, I don't blame the government, it's what they know, but they need professional experts to come in and actually talk with them and say, this is the way to go. They're doing what they know. And that's why Epelle is having this problem with them on how they see things, because of their internal thoughts. So to answer that question again, please look inward. Start with your family members. Someone has a disability. Someone is, again, we use that word underprivileged. Underprivileged is a huge word, but somebody has a disability around you, and start with that. Or look into one of the foundations that are around and join them, and let the movement begins. And because the spirit of giving is an internal thing.
Please let me just come in there for 60 seconds. Doc, very well put. You know, the questioner, the person who asked that question was specific, and he was talking about what structure. Well, I think your last take gave him that answer. There are structures also around you. There are establishments, there are institutions, there are organizations, there are NGOs. You know, I'm a very procedural and structured fellow. I like things done structurally. This concept of approaching in the fingers, but if you make your donations, make your intervention through a structured organization, you and I do annual report every year. If we don't do annual report to show who gave us money, how did we spend it, then nobody will support us. Albino Foundation, albinofoundation.org, if you go there, you will see our annual report and account. Annual report and account. So you will see who gave us money, how we spent it. And I always say that every time and anytime anybody has a question of expenditure that is not clear to you, I'm not able to answer, I will resign as the CEO of my organization. So it's important to deal with structure, establish structure. Three things makes an organization: structure, system, strategy. If you are at the fourth, synergy. So it's good for you to make intervention, but make intervention through organization like Hope for Now, through my brother's organization, through my organization, through any other organization that are intervening in the space of persons with disability. I think it's time for us to show the world that we are organized. Organizations of persons with disability are credible. If you work with them, they will be able to help you intervene and reach the best person that you could not reach.
All right.
Jake, we are rounding up now, and there's somebody who keeps flagging and flagging. They want their question answered. So I'll make an exception. I'll take that question, and then shortly after we have addressed that question, Jake, you will do your closing remarks, followed by Dr. Nwaesei, and then we will call it a day. Let's take that question. Kindly differentiate between people with impairment and people with disabilities and the kind of assistance each category needs. Where should we start and where do we end with the needed assistance? Kindly differentiate between people with impairment and people with disabilities and what kind of assistance each category needs. Where should we start and where do we end with the needed assistance? I don't know who's going to take a shot at this question. Any of you could take a shot at the question?
I will take a shot at it right away, and then really can go in on that. You know, that's a question. That question is loaded. This is a three-part question, but I'm going to try to answer it into a minute or two as we've run out of time, because that question can take me half an hour, actually. So I'm going to be very brief. Impairment is actually a word of what you need. Impairment is a disability in actually, so they are both the same word. Somebody who is blind needs braille in order to be able to, these are assistive devices, technological devices. Somebody who is deaf needs other assistance. You understand? Somebody who is blind needs different things. So different impairment is something that you are having a problem with in order for you to live your life of, we call it additional day living skills. So if you are not able to live life functionally on a daily basis like everybody else, we need a lot of things to do that. I got a video yesterday of 2 days ago of somebody. They sent me a picture who was having issues with her leg. She needs prosthesis in one of her legs. And they were asking me, how can I talk to her? And she seemed to have a, what can I call it? Self-esteem. Self-esteem is the word. She says she can't go out, but she has one leg, but the other one needs prosthesis. So I spent over an hour talking to her about how she should be happy that she is happy to be alive, that this position that she's in now, she should handle with the grace. She should dance. She should go out and feel good. She should not be ashamed of what she has got. And she has gone through school, but she needed that. So I'm getting in touch with her to see how we can be able to get her some prosthesis. So that's impairment is a disability. They are all one and the same. It's not a difference, because if you are not able to do something that you normally do and is a barrier towards you achieving that goal, that's different from how society views somebody. That's a different thing. Your disability is an impairment towards the ability to do something that you would ordinarily do. Because in my area of New York here, where I'm also involved with people with disabilities, we always ask them very personal questions when we're doing our intake, because we want to find out, how has this disability affected you? How is it a barrier towards you doing what you're supposed to do? Normally that will take a normal person, and if you are having difficulties doing that, then you have a disability, and that's an impairment by itself. So the only way to answer that question without just cutting the time short is that they are one and the same. Impairment is a disability, but the good news is that today's world and with technology today, we have areas that we can solve that problem for the individual, because impairments are all individualized.
Yeah, they're flagging us. We need to get ready to close the meeting. So can I say, Dr. Nwaesei, that you have an impairment because you cannot buy a first-class ticket to travel because you're towards people with disabilities. So when your children buy the first-class ticket, they are removing the impairment. So you must take that ticket. Now, Jake,
I'm sorry, that's not my impairment here. Is that I use prescription glasses to be able to see very well. But that's a mild impairment on my part, okay? Every other thing is a choice. But I have impairment because I use glasses. That's
great. Dr. Jacob Epelle, please, can you round up and let's have your closing remarks, and then Dr. Bring the meeting to an end. Jake?
Yes, sir. Yeah, here I go. Thank you so much, Dr. Paul, and my co-speaker, Dr. Nwaesei. I hope I got it. Michael, Dr. Michael. Thank you so much. I want to say that I am grateful that people like Paul is coming into this movement and also creating a platform like this for us to express ourselves. With that said, I think to solve the problem of persons with disability is creating a platform where everybody in the space can come together and form one indivisible body and speak with one voice and project one messaging and fight for inclusion in every space. This is the strategy that I know will work, and it will be able to sustain both the advocacy, policy, projects, and program that we can fight for that will bring a meaningful life to persons with disability. I want to agree with my co-speaker that these various models that they have followed before that have never worked must be jettisoned, and we pursue inclusive model, a model that will address every barrier, create accessibility, create equality, and ensure that persons with disability is recognized and will be given equal opportunity at every sphere of life. With that said, thank you very much. Let's fight for an inclusive society.
Thank you. Dr. Nwaesei?
All right. I will start by saying, people with disabilities are vanguards of resilience. They are very huge. I respect them. I admire them. Anytime I run across them, I see them here in the United States, in Nigeria, anywhere in the world, I pay attention to them. And I admire, I don't want to be in their shoes, but it's huge what they go through. The issue I ask always is, what do they want? And that's something we do here in this country. We begin that by asking them that question whenever we come in contact with them during intake. The question is always about, what do you want? It's not about what I can give to you. You have a disability, so it's a matter of what do you want? What can I do for you to be able to live a life fulfilled? Because thank God I don't have a disability now that is making me not life, but with these barriers, what can I do to help your life? So that's the question we first of all ask here. What can I do? Then we approach it from that angle of what they want, and we help by achieving it for them. That's the model I want in Nigeria. And Nigeria has what it takes to do it and provide it. We have the funding, we have the funds. So it's all about the mindset of the people and the professionals that are there, So because the abuse they face, they are likely unaware of their rights. We're tired of this model. We want them to enjoy full rights as citizens through inclusive policy process, because all barriers hinder moved. And again, like I said, social welfare, as you know, Dr. Abolo, is not the responsibility of government alone. but demands the involvement of private sector and community. That's why behavioral change towards this is very, very important. My hope is that COVID-19 will bring more understanding, inclusion, and opportunity to the disabled community. The government needs to do more. They need professionals who understand the right process of creating this needed change of quality life, you know. Hope for now is creating a hope, as you know, filled with poverty and no hope. You know, changing the way the world tackles equality and building a world based on dignity is to be part of a group of people who continue to see hope where there is hopelessness. And in the lives of Dr. Martin Luther King, he says that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. If you come to my office in New York, that's the first sign you see. I've had it right there for more than 12 years. Yes. Do not allow the means by which you live to outdistance the ends for which you live. That's something that is very intricate in our lives, because we have a responsibility to make the nation we live a better one. That's my responsibility, to make Nigeria a better nation by my contribution. So it's not only critiquing them that makes it better. We have what it takes. So we have to seek to make life better for everyone. And again, we must keep moving. Again, if you run, you can't run, you walk. Whatever you need to do, all remember that all lives matter and we're all created in God's image. And I really want to thank you, Dr. Abolo, for this. What an honor to be here. Mr. Epelle, what an honor to be with you. And like I said, I hope I haven't gone into pastoral preaching here. I'm not a pastor or anything, but it's what I feel about what is going on. And hopefully, we are all solving problems for humanity. Thank you, Dr. Abolo.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nwaesei. I need to express profound gratitude to you, Dr. Nwaesei, and my brother, Epelle. We have started something that is bigger than all of us put together. We need to take this forward with all passion, with all energy. But I got something from Jake Epelle's closing remarks. Jake, you said that in terms of strategy, we need to look for one indivisible force. One indivisible force, and then earlier on you had mentioned an organization of people with disabilities. So when we get back and we begin to develop our strategies, we are going to look at the possibility of creating that one indivisible force. That force can start from you, it can start from me, it can start from Dr. Nwaesei, or it can start from the three of us. We need to create that indivisible force for people with disabilities. By so doing, we would have started the structure on which other people can leverage to reach out to people with disabilities. Having said that, I want to thank our viewers and all the other participants and the people that ask questions on this platform. We appreciate you. We thank you so much for listening in. We thank you for your questions, and we thank you for your time and your data. And we look forward to you following us on our subsequent programs. On Friday, we are going to go right into the IDP camps. We are going to show you some videos, and we are going to look at how the camps against COVID-19, because I can tell you one thing for sure, there is no physical distancing in the IDP camps. So what we need to do is to protect the IDP camp entirely from COVID-19, and we're going to look at that on on Friday. We welcome you to join us. And again, this is a Pristine platform. Pristine is an Ecologistics cloud-based conferencing platform for promoting sustainable development in Africa. I am your host, Dr. Paul Abolo. Thank you very much, and God bless.